Yes. It is a cast-worthy podcast, and we are back. Episode 258. 258. It is Sunday, December 15th, 2024. I am Big Steve, aka Last of a Dying Breed, on the X machine for now. Probably moving to Blue Sky a little bit. Castworthy is already over there. Look for Castworthy on Blue Sky. We've moved. And I'm joined today by EJ, the sophisticated savage. I was gonna say some other stuff, but I don't know if wifey be listening. And VP, the research king is what he has his name as today. That is today's name, the research
Today.
king. Self-proclaimed, real LeBron James-ish. I be spitting. It is Christmas time in the city, and a lot going on, man. We missed last week. EJ's birthday was last week. Shout out to you, actually on pod day. So, you had it was the day before the pod, and I had a birthday party for my son, whose birthday is the day after yours. So yeah, it was a rough week last week. A lot going on. December is always a rough time, but we are back. We are back
Indeed.
to deliver.
Indeed.
So, with that, gentlemen, how have you guys been for the last 2 weeks?
Been good, man.
What'd you do for your birthday?
December, like you said, just did the usual brunch, and I was in bed by 7.
Alone?
No, not
Oh.
alone, but I was in bed by 7.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, that makes a difference. If you're alone in bed by 7, usually it's because you're drunk. If you're or you're not alone in bed by 7.
No, it still can mean the same thing.
Well, yeah, just different activities.
or honestly, at this stage in life, early morning drinking is just like, all right, and I had went out the night before. I kind of knew at that point I could have still went out, but I was like, nah, I ain't gonna make it. Sunday and Monday, I'm not gonna make it. So I stayed in.
Okay, so light work,
What'd you do for your
kind of
birthday?
light.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't hear what you said. You broke up a little bit.
Oh no. I said, what'd you do for your birthday?
Oh, not much, man. I took did I take the day off? I don't remember, yo. I don't remember. I think I actually worked from home that day. Oh, I don't even remember, yo. But nothing really, nothing major. Chilled at the house, relax. Um, my birthday is not really a holiday anymore because can't plan trips, can't do too much because the kid's birthday is too far after. It's not too far after, so it's really about what goes on for his birthday right now. But it's all right. All December is my birthday, so I just haven't celebrated yet. But that doesn't mean it won't happen. That doesn't
Little
mean it won't
birthday and
happen.
Christmas.
A little something, a little something. Me and the baby Jesus with this, a little party going on. VP, I don't see you, but I do see your background, so I assume that you're somewhere within range. How's your week's been? Is the kid back yet? Well, I guess he's not a kid, grown ass man now.
Yeah, everything's been cool, I guess. Yeah, he got back yesterday. He flew back. A little bit of trouble
How's he
picking
look?
him up. He left his charger in his check bag, so he ended up killing his phone, like waiting to board. And then by the time he got here, he had enough power to send a text to say I just landed, and then his phone died. So so the pickup went a little bit south, but other than that, it was all good. But yeah, he's back.
Amateurs. He gonna get better at that.
Yeah.
First time traveler or second time by himself kind of thing. So
Yeah.
Uh, does he look bigger? Does he look stronger? Does he look more independent to you?
He looked like, I mean, she thinks he lost a little bit of weight, but I can't tell. So,
Oh, that's
but
mama trying to say he not eating right. That's all she trying to say. They
right,
not feeding my baby up there.
right. So,
Mm-hmm.
and then we had a little fiasco with the school this week. Fucking pissed me off, man. Cause
What else is new?
because he has his meal plan or whatever. Remember
Mhm,
I told y'all he had ran out of money,
mhm.
and so I put funds
Mm-hmm.
on there, and then it got low again, and then so I put more on there, and I just thought like, oh well, even though I'm probably overfunding it a little bit, that'll just roll over to next semester. It doesn't roll over. It's basically like use it or lose it kind of thing.
Like a flexible spending account?
Yeah, and
Oh, y'all
so
got me fucked up.
I was like, yo, go over there and let them know like this isn't like financial aid money. Like we put that money in that fucking account. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? So like
So
what the
give me
fuck?
all the meatballs in the back right now. Like whatever
And
y'all got
so
left that's non-perishable, use my money on it because I need it.
Ain't no way to cash out of it.
nah. So he went over there and they were like, no. They were like, they have two different like meal accounts. And so the one that we added the money to is one that's not refundable. They have another one that is or whatever, which is I
Mm-hmm.
guess the one that we should have did. We didn't know that. And so I was like,
Mm,
all right. I was like, so he had one meal left or whatever. He had like $71 left in his account. So I was like, hey, when you go to dinner, get whatever you want. And
get
then
the steak.
afterwards, I was like, they have a store on campus or whatever. They can use their meal account to shop at the store as well. I was like, go to the store and buy like a bunch of non-perishable shit that you can just leave in your room over break or whatever. And so he went and bought like a bunch of Gatorades and stuff like that and just left them in his room.
Okay. Well, I mean, not a total waste. I can see the frustration, but not a total waste. Not a
Yeah.
total waste. Probably a couple Snickers in there, some Skittles and shit. I'm like, oh, I could buy whatever. Well, uh, travel season during or traveling during the holiday season, I'm sure it was a bit of a mess for him. I don't know if you've had that combo, but I have to assume, well, probably not as bad as it will be in the next couple of weeks. This is kind of like the sort of slowish week,
Mhm.
with the exception of a lot of the college travelers and stuff like that. But the big family travel starts this week coming.
I think for him it's been a little easier and only because um his school is like so in I'm not sure if you've been to Chicago before, but Chicago actually has two airports. They got O'Hare, which is like the
O'Hare.
international joint, and then they have Chicago Midway, which is a smaller airport outside of the city. And so his school is like 20 minutes away from Midway.
Mm,
So every time that we've flown there and anytime that he's always traveled from Midway. So he gets there super fast because it's right down the street. And
yep.
then I'm guessing just because Midway is the smaller airport that it probably doesn't get as much traffic. Even I mean, I'm pretty sure it's increased during the holidays, but
Hmm.
maybe like not as much as you would see at like an O'Hare or like a
Yeah.
like a JFK or LAX or something like that.
Yeah.
And
I'm pretty
so
sure O'Hare is a hub too, like Atlanta, Miami.
yeah,
I
I
think
think it
so.
is. I think it is. And so like he got to the airport and he checked in and he was like, he hit me up like, hey, I'm checked in or whatever. And I was like, all right, just hit me up when you get past TSA or whatever. And he was like, all
Hmm.
right. And then like, I don't know, 25 minutes, he hit me up, like, all right, up head to the gate. And I was like, damn. So
Mm,
but like it could be like you said, we're a little bit kind of like in preseason of holiday travel. So it could just be the time of year, or it could just be that it's a smaller airport or whatever. But he moved through there pretty quickly when he left for Thanksgiving as well.
yeah. Well, if anyone wants to buy him a Christmas gift, Tiffany, if you're listening, TSA pre-check would be great. It'd be a great idea because I know coming back is not bad, but the Orlando airport is a bitch getting through security. And
Yeah.
pre-check is, even though pre-check is kind of trickled down to a lot of people because people are getting it with their credit cards and stuff like that, and everyone's getting approved with credit cards. it's still quicker. It's still, especially in Orlando, like them lines. Like when we went to Utah, and it wasn't even super busy. We went early in the morning, which is usually dead, and the regular line, like the peasant line, was still like super long. So
The peasant
um,
line. Yeah.
yeah,
I mean, that's something we might have to look into because, like, I
you
remember you
called
told me
something
about
else.
pre-check. You told me about pre-check a couple years ago, but it wasn't appealing to me just because I'm handicapped, so I don't stand on the line anyway. We go to
Uh,
the we go to the handicap line and just skip the whole fuss or whatever.
good point. Good point.
But now that
Yeah,
he's
I'm having.
traveling on his own, he don't got that. He don't got me.
I wonder if it's cheaper for me to just get a wheelchair than to pay for my pre-check and my clear.
Oh my god.
um, yeah, man. But well, I'm glad he made it home. Healthy, happy. I'm sure he is happy to be away from that freezing ass cold. You know, get some of mom's
Mhm.
spaghetti, all that, all that stuff. Um, good, good. Well, holiday season's here. There's a lot going on. A lot going on. I mean, since we last spoke, shit, motherfuckers is getting killed on in the street in Manhattan. You know, uh, we could. I guess we could go right there. Um, CEO of United Healthcare, Brian Thompson, on my birthday, December 5th, was gunned down by a young man who they showed faces of and alleged that were the pictures and videos of him in multiple places, if you believe that or not. And there were some messages, on the bullet: deny, defend, depose, on 3 different bullets. Turns out that the gun and the suppressor were 3D printed. And we talked about that like 2 years ago on this pod about 3D printing and transporting weapons and stuff like that. And the fact that they would be plastic and hard to pick up and stuff like that. I know he didn't travel via airline, but we did talk about that 2 years ago. And we talked about how it could potentially escalate. And here we are. If what they're saying is true, right? We can only go by the news that's been reported. 3D gun, 3D suppressor, 3D bullets, 3D printed bullets, and a young man by the name of Luigi Mangione was scooped up as the person of interest. He's been charged, and they're telling us that he is the one that pulled this killing off. What do you guys think of this whole ordeal?
Yeah, a lot of it potentially stinks. Sounds like a conspiracy movie. Um, you know, this guy gets picked up at McDonald's after fleeing New York City. 40,000 cops. He gets spotted in McDonald's with the murder
At a
weapon.
McDonald's.
Yeah,
Not
it
only
just seems
McDonald's, a McDonald's in Pennsylvania. Remember, there was
yeah.
a certain president that went to work at a McDonald's in Pennsylvania. The
I mean,
irony.
that's not hard to believe. Um, I
Which
mean, the
part?
guy who like that. I mean, that it happened at a McDonald's or whatever. Like, or remember that guy who shot that guy on Facebook Live like 10 years ago? He was like
Hmm.
something happened with his girlfriend or something, and he walks up to the guy and he's like, "Hey, do you know Jane Doe?" And the guy's like, "No," and he's like, "What is the reason this happened to you?" And he just lifted up his gun and shot the guy in the head live on Facebook. Happened like 10 years
Mm,
ago.
okay.
And
Did
when
he?
it was in Detroit, and when he fled, he left, and I think he was in, I want to say, Indiana. I want to say,
Mhm.
and he went to a McDonald's to order. The cashier recognized him from the news, and she told him that they had to cook. They had just dropped nuggets, so he had to pull over and wait. And he pulled over, and they called the cops, and the cops showed up, and then
What a
he
Well, the reason
self departed.
the reason I feel it's a little the reason I feel it's a little different than that. You're talking about a potential crime of passion. This guy went from Detroit to Indiana, not too far. This dude, who's a Maryland resident, went to New York, one of the busiest places you can be. 40,000 cops evaded them. They had no idea. They couldn't find this guy. and he gets to Pennsylvania, and they are now painting it to be a little bit more of a manifesto and some type of ordeal there. But it just seems like somebody with the acumen to do what he did and get where he got, with the planning of knowing when this guy as a CEO is going to be in the street in Midtown Manhattan. You would just, and this is assuming, uh, he would be a little bit more calculated, and
I
it doesn't
mean,
seem that
we
way.
assume that.
And they also said he really, yeah, I know. I'm just saying this is all we know. This is what we go by for now. It just seemed a little MLK-esque, but not MLK, but same way they said James Earl Ray shot idiot prior to that. It just seems a little conspiracy-esque. And I don't even think the dude, as far as we know right now, had any relationship with United Healthcare. But yeah, it's one of those things.
So
Yeah.
the conspiracy aspect of it, I think I was having a conversation with my brother. We were talking about not necessarily this, but just conspiracies in general. And I remember I saw a thing from somebody who like studies this kind of stuff, and his point about it was the reason that people are attracted to his conspiracies is because life is boring, right? And conspiracies seem cool, right? You know what I mean? Like, how can this some guy just track this CEO down, he kill him, he evades 40,000 police officers, like EJ said, and all this kind of stuff, and then he just gets caught in a McDonald's. That just seems illogical, right? But smart criminals typically don't get caught, right? It's why all those years of the guys who were like the big mafia names, they never get caught, and then they make that one mistake like on their taxes, and you have the famous example of Al Capone, where of all the drugs, running numbers, killing people, bootlegging, all that stuff like that he did, that's not what he went to prison for. He went to prison for tax evasion. You know what I mean? And so I just don't think that it's a big conspiracy. But on the story itself, it's sad that this guy was killed or whatever. I feel sorry for his family and things like that. But at the same time, I'm surprised something like this hasn't happened before. And the reason that I say that is that we live in a country with growing inequality, and we continuously see not just businesses, but the rich and the wealthy take and take and take and take and take. And you live in a country where the pie for folks who don't have anything is getting smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. And so this whole like Steve used the term peasants earlier, like the peasants at the gates with the pitchforks and stuff like that, going after the rich and those kind of, I'm just surprised something like that hasn't happened before, because like I said, you have inequality that continues to grow in this country. And it seems like the folks who are on top don't say, okay, I have enough. They say, no, I need even more. And then not only do I need more, you need less. So I need more money, and then I'm gonna have the Congress and the state legislature pass laws that make it harder for you to get social safety net benefits, things like food stamps or Medicaid and things like that. I need more, and I'm going to work with the government and the incoming Trump administration to overturn Obamacare, which is going to get rid of Medicaid expansion. It's going to get rid of health insurance of 50 million people in this country. We're going to roll back Social Security, veterans benefits, disability benefits, and all of these programs that are designed to help people. And at the same time that we do that, we're going to cut rich people's taxes. So we're gonna take away shit from you and then give them
Nigga
more.
just be speeding, don't he, EJ?
Yeah,
Motherfucker be like,
just
he
go
be like,
to the
let me get all the topics out the way in one fucking.
My bad. I'm passionate about this.
I
So
mean, but again, going back to your point about the criminals, I mean, it was a horrible comparison. Al Capone existed in the 40s. There wasn't enough evidence. These are criminal organizations where he didn't do things on his own. And, if you go into the modern times of the mafia, they had these guys. right? A lot of these guys were protected by politicians. There was a lot of money involved. This wasn't just apples to oranges. Again, with this guy, on one hand, they make him seem like he has a manifesto. He's obsessed. He's down with the rich, like to your point. And then, he evades 40,000 police officers. He gets to Pennsylvania, being a Maryland resident, and just simply gets caught by the girl behind the register. It has all of the trimmings to be a conspiracy. And then, this guy is the CEO of United Healthcare. Well, were you tracking him for weeks? There's no video surveillance that shows this guy was stalking his building. You're in Midtown Manhattan. There's cameras everywhere. There's cell phones everywhere. And it just seems like, and I agree, the American people want to be entertained and they want to get behind something. But I mean, if you just, not to say I'm a forensics person or police officer, but it's just kind of difficult to fathom for me that a guy shot a dude in broad daylight in Midtown Manhattan and was able to make it out of New York City that fast and that far.
So it's not shocking to me, and the reason why I say that is that I can paint a scenario for you off the top of my head, like with not much thought on how this could have happened. The CEO's traveling to Manhattan. I don't know what he was there for. Let's assume he was there for like a conference, just to kind of make my example. He's going there for a conference. The wife, who's on Facebook, posts gonna be being the kids this weekend because Brian's gonna be in New York for the health insurance conference. Boom. Now you know what this guy's gonna be. You can go online and flight data is publicly available. It's one of the reasons why Elon Musk had said if you put where his private plane is traveling on Twitter, you're gonna get banned from Twitter. So now the CEO is flying private. You can literally track his flight, where it's leaving from, when it's landing, etc. So now boom, he's in New York. You already know where he's going to land because most private planes land at a specific airport in most cities. Now you follow the plane from, or not the plane, but however he's traveling from there to the hotel, and then boom,
all
you
of
got
that,
him.
all of that don't matter. All of that don't matter. You guys are overthinking
It doesn't.
You're overthinking it. I mean, there's two sides of the coin. You can play devil's advocate and say that it's a conspiracy, which I do think there's a lot here that makes it seem conspiracy-ish. But then you also think about reality and put yourself into a situation in Manhattan, EJ. You've been there plenty of times, right? And when something happens, when people say, "Oh, how did he get away from without the cops knowing?" Well,
Cops are incompetent.
Well, not only that, I wouldn't go that far. Before cops even knew what happened or what took place, they got to know what they're looking for, right? So we're thinking, like, if I shoot you, it's in my mind that I probably got to get out of here within 2 minutes, or less, right? I got to get out of here quickly, and you're hoping that before while you're in pursuit of getting out of there, the cops don't even know what's taking place, right? Maybe people are scattering, maybe people are screaming, someone is saying what the hell happened. If there's not a cop immediately in the area, someone has to make a phone call to report it, a security guard, somebody has to say this took place, and now the cops have to react, and now they got to start their search. By that time, you could be halfway across the city. Now they have to go and try and ask people, hey, what did he have on? Let's check the cameras. That gives you another 10, 20 minutes. You know what I mean? Even longer in reality to get places. So I could see where it could be so. My thing is, whether it was him or not, whether it was this kid or not, because really, some of the images do look like him. Some of the stuff that he did, if it is really him, seemed like it was on purpose, like taking his mask down to fucking flirt with a chick, keeping the gun on him. Like, you're an Ivy League student. You're not some fucking bozo, some bum off the street. You're keeping the weapon on you. You're keeping the manifesto on you and traveling with this stuff. Like, that's the stuff that makes me think from a conspiracy theory, whether real or not, one thing, whether planned by somebody and executed a certain way, another thing. And I do think that this might have been something like that. I don't think he acted on his own. I think this was something beyond it. And I do think, Vari, to your point, I think it does have to do with we've gone from the haves to the haves and I'm sorry, we went from the haves and have nots to the haves, got a little bit and have nots, and we're going back into the super haves and only have nots, right? Where majority of us are the have nots if you're trying to live in this country. And I think the country is going in a direction we're seeing between this and the other thing that happened in New York, which we'll talk about, Daniel Penny, that depending on what side of the coin that you're in, you're going to either accept it or react a certain way. And we're going to see more and more of this, right? So we see the haves stood behind Daniel Penny, what he did. The have not stand behind Luigi Mangione, a lot of them, right? This guy is being touted a hero for getting a message out. And it's a realistic message, right? And so people are judging the have nots for saying, yo, this guy is a hero. We really support what this guy did. Don't support somebody losing life, but we do support the message that he's getting out of it, right? Or trying to get out there. And on the other side of it, you got the have saying, oh, yeah, this guy's a hero because he choked out a guy in the subway that was acting erratic. And the have nots are like, but that's just a black guy. This shit's racism. You know, this to me is where America's going. Right versus left, has versus have nots, black versus white. And it's very unfortunate.
Yeah, I don't think the Luigi guy, by any means is a hero. What he did was wrong. He should be what he's alleged to have done is wrong, and if it's proven in court, he should go to prison. You know what I mean? So, this guy is no hero for any cause, but it's also understandable people's reaction, right? Because at the same time that people are shitting on the Luigi guy for allegedly shooting this dude in the street with a gun, nobody has given Brian Thompson or whatever the fuck his name was any smoke for the fact that United Healthcare denies more claims than any of the other insurance companies by like a lot. They're denying like more than a third of claims. That is people's pain management, people's life-saving surgeries, their cancer treatments, et cetera, et cetera. You know what I'm saying? And so I can understand people's frustration and as well as them being, somewhat gleeful or whatever that this happened, because people are saying, oh, I remember when I had to do blah, 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 and I got denied. I remember my mom needed this, she got denied. My sister, my wife, my daughter, whatever, my kid, and they got denied because of some bullshit. And you see news stories. I saw a story about a year ago that talked about, I think it was United, if I'm not mistaken, but I'm not 100% sure on this, about how they have some of their people who are like the folks who review claims that are reviewing some crazy number of claims a year. And the thing was like, if you just did the math on that, and that would mean that this person was reviewing something like 7 or 8 claims per minute. And I don't give a shit. You can have the best doctor in the world who can speed read. There's no way you're telling me that a single person is reviewing 7 to 8 claims per minute and making a decision on that and then coming up with the right decision. And then now you factor in the fact that they're saying in the press that United has now implemented an algorithm that does this for them. So you just have some fucking robot.
Even worse.
Yep. Huh?
I said even worse.
Right. You know what I'm saying? And so, like I said, this is people's lives at stake or whatever. And so you can see how a person can get to that point, even if, like to EJ's point he made a second ago, they're saying in the media that the cops are reporting that this dude didn't have a business relationship with United. He wasn't covered by them at all. But even still, you can still see somebody, doing something like this because of this shit.
We've had this. I mean, this is a problem, or to me, a microcosm of what America is in the capitalistic side of it, right? You have banks and predatory loans and refusals of loans and all of these things over the years. I mean, so I get it. It's just it's a point in time where kind of this point it's like, there's going to be lines drawn in the sand, and at the end of the day, I think the end result is only going to be chaos. You know what I'm saying? Because if you feel like and I'm not saying any of us said this, but people feel like he's justified or they understand, but then it's like, well, what is it in this country that you can justify murder for in the future? You know what I'm saying? Like, because you didn't get this, you didn't get that, and you're frustrated and you're downtrodden, and I get it. We talk about it all the time here. It's just chaotic. It's just a crazy space that we're in. And to VP's point, people have been tired. And to Steve's point, this may not be the last time we see this. It's so many other areas in this nation. I mean, how many times Wells Fargo been sued for doing bullshit to people? You know what I'm saying? Charging them and taking money and all types of things. It's a scary time, man. I don't know that the road is going to look any better.
Yeah, I mean, look, the when it's only going to get worse, right? Especially if the Affordable Care Act goes away, or when that goes away within the next 4 years at some point. It's only going to get worse. People are only going to be impacted even worse in that realm. Um, but there's a lot, man. Like, look, I know, VP, you said you don't see him as a hero, and I can't call him a hero for taking somebody's life. Like, I agree with you there, but I do feel like it's important for somebody to take a stand. And when we talk about it all the time, there's not anyone doing it anymore, taking that stand. Could he have done it differently? Yes, 100%. Killing somebody is not the best way, but there is a message that needed to get out. And hopefully this message rings loudly and people seem to understand what's going on in this country, especially, from the quote unquote manifesto that they claim was his, that he wrote. Jadakiss said it, yo. Jadakiss said it in the track. There's a message in everything, even a bullet, right? And they found those 3 bullets: deny, defend, depose. And allegedly that, translates directly to United Healthcare and how they handle their claims. And then we turn around and we see, this is what he's saying. Now, to your point, EJ, they came out in the news recently and said he's never had coverage through United Healthcare, right? But his friends and family did say that he had back surgery. He's been dealing with ailments and stuff like that. He turned 26. At 26 is where you lose your health insurance under your parents, right? So now, is he not able to get his pain meds? Is he not able to get his therapy? All of that stuff is super important. And when you're someone who's paying attention to this stuff and you're looking at Canada and you're looking at Europe, you're looking at other countries where they're providing people with what they need to live and be comfortable and not demanding money for it, it's very easy to get passionate and create this type of, or commit this type of crime. So I can completely see somebody getting there, and I can see a lot more people getting there, especially if they start to do this research, unfortunately.
And
Unfortunately, unfortunately for us in this nation, something like this will happen. All the other insurance companies, United Healthcare, even, they're going to beef up security. They're going to say the things that they think they should say. They're going to cover their, cross their T's and dot their I's. Unfortunately, until we as a society, and I always say this, until we value our fellow man as a whole, and really, really get a big movement to I guess go against as a little guy going against the big guys, I don't know that we're going to see much change. It's back to what we used to say about Kaepernick and the NFL and how people got on the NFL and but would watch NBA. You know what I'm saying? It's like you will give up this thing because it's not really impacting your way of life. It's not impacting what you like and what you love. But if it really came down to it and we really needed to sacrifice as a people and say, we're not going to do this anymore. We're going to have mattress money. We're not investing in these banks. We're not investing with corporations that are giving billions of dollars to these politicians to sway laws. We're not going to take it. But unfortunately for us as a nation, we're comfortable in the way that we are, and many people don't really want to sacrifice. So while so many people can empathize with the shortcomings of United Healthcare, it's not a lot that people are going to be willing to do in the large scale of things.
So on that, EJ, I mostly agree with you, but and I agree with you because of the things that we've talked about on this podcast about how people in this country are fickle. You know, everything's a fad. Is you know, it's whatever's trending right now, and then it goes away for the next thing or whatever, right?
Hmm.
The thing that makes me wonder is I'm not sure if you guys remember or are familiar with the Arab Spring, right? And so in December of 2010, there was a man in Tunisia named Muhammad Bouazizi who self-immolated, meaning set himself on fire. He was sick of corruption, having to pay bribes and all this kind of stuff to get along in the country. And he set
Hmm.
himself on fire in the middle of the street, and it started protests in Tunisia. And those protests spread all across the Arab world. And you see the leader in Tunisia, Algeria, Egypt. There were protests in Jordan, protests in Saudi Arabia, and in a lot of these countries, these leaders were deposed, and new government came in. You know, whether or not much changes happened, you know, that's debatable at this point. Even we saw Bashar al-Assad. I was posting in the chat last week. I know we didn't pod the dictator of Syria, who just was overthrown last week and fled to Russia. But protests in Syria started at the same time, resulting in a civil war, which now leads to his ouster that happened last week, right? And so you see the new CEO of United Healthcare. I said that to say this. You see the new CEO of United Healthcare saying, you know, we got to do better, we got to do more, you know, blah blah blah, all that kind of shit like that. Is that just lip service? Probably, but does
It is.
this incident does this incident potentially spark some kind of thing from within to where people are telling, you know, these businesses, telling their politicians, like, yo, we're fed up with this shit and something has to change. You can't keep doing this to us. You know what I'm saying? And again, like I said, with EJ's point of saying like he doesn't think anything is going to happen, et cetera, et cetera, I mostly agree with that. I'm holding out that small little percentage of a chance that something may come from this, even though I don't think that it will. And thinking of things like the Arab Spring being this one event of a man who set himself on fire just because he was, you know, pissed off about what was happening, and it essentially changed the world. You know what I mean? And so, again, I don't know that this does this, but you know, I would say watch this space.
Let me put it into perspective for you. What happened here is the same as what we saw on House of Dragons, right? When the people of the city started to revolt and be upset that they couldn't eat, we saw how Aemon responded. Aemon was like, we got to, kill the rat, all the rat catchers, hold these people accountable. That's the government that's coming in January. We saw how, I forget the girl's name, the queen, the rightful queen. We saw how she responded, and that's the government that's leaving, right? And unfortunately, we're going to move into that space. So I agree with you. You look, the hope that you have for these companies to have that conversation, the same hope that me and EJ have, that there are good Republicans out there in the Senate.
Oh no,
That
I don't hope anything from the companies. I don't believe businesses are in the business of making money. I don't care if they sell band-aids or if they sell guns. All they want to do is make money. Buy for $1, sell for 10. You know what I mean? And so these businesses aren't going to do this on their own. The hope that I have is that the people will say this shit will not stand, and then it forces the folks. It then forces the politicians to force the hand of business. The business won't do it on its own. They're gonna have to be made to do it.
I don't want to beat the topic down too long, but I mean, history has shown us. You go back to 2002, Denzel drops the movie John Q, which, while the story is loosely based off a true story, not in this country, it was based off an incident that happened in Canada. But we've seen stories like this happen over time, and people resonate. People say, free the guy. People say, I understand. People say this, say that. And again, they go back to their natural way of life. Again, I don't think, and Steve, I think you got to see this, but I don't think people realize, there are a lot of homeless people in this city. And the disparities between haves and have-not are large. Maryland just got hundreds of millions. I think Baltimore just got hundreds of millions against the opioid companies because of the disparities here. And it's like, again, when in the 90s and 80s, when it was just a black problem, no one cared. Now, when it's gone somewhere else, they're getting awarded lawsuits and things like that. But look how long there's been damage to communities, to families, to people, to where there were some people in this nation, no matter what side of the aisle they sit on, they say, pull your bootstraps up, or they say, we've given you what we can give you. And we just go on about our business. It's par for the course. And I don't think into a lot of y'all points, until every citizen can really understand, what their vote does, who they're voting for, how it impacts them, until they can understand and care about it. It's not going to change.
Yeah.
I'm in agreement with you, EJ. And again, not to beat the topic down again, but that's why I said I don't think anything's going to change. I'm holding out small fraction of a chance that maybe this galvanizes people to say enough is enough. But again, I don't think yeah,
it won't. And the reason it won't is because the only way to get to it is it's going to be more of this. It's going to take violence. There's no organizing against the administration that's coming. There's no organizing. There's no sending letters to those to people to say, hey, we need to make changes. You need to make these companies do whatever. Like, it's not going to happen. It's not in the next 4 years, and maybe even beyond that, because it's getting set up to the point where that 4 years can turn into 8, to turn into 12, and we're just we're screwed. But yeah, so but again, we talk about the other incident that happened in New York, which was Daniel Penny a few years ago. He gets on the train, and he is a veteran, military veteran, and I forget the gentleman's Neely. What's his first name? Jordan Neely. I think it's Jordan Neely. Was a gentleman well known in New York for being in Times Square. He dealt with schizophrenia and stuff, but he would be in Times Square dressed up as Michael Jackson. At times he would get on the train. Apparently he caused some trouble on the train a few times, held accountable for that by the police or whatever, but nobody sought major help for this guy, right, to put him in a place where he could get his mental health addressed, of course. He gets on the train that day, and Penny decides he's going to be the guy to restrain this guy, puts him in a chokehold for 6 minutes, to where he transitions. And he was just, all of his charges were just thrown out last week. And on one side of the coin, you have us, again, which are the have-nots, that are like, yo, how could this happen? How could you tell me that it's okay that when this man is lifeless in your arms, that you continue to hold and choke anybody, any man, right? Or person. On the other side, they're saying, well, he got on there and, he was acting erratic, so people were in danger. You're telling me that causes danger? That causes danger to the level of where you can now choke this man out. People can help you restrain him, and you can continue to choke until he's lifeless and he transitions. That's the world we're moving into. And the president and vice president that are coming into office in 30 days had this man in their suite yesterday at the Army-Navy game because they said he is a hero. That's the America we live in, and that's the 2025 that we have to look forward to.
Yeah, I mean, we've been saying it for years. This is a debate that me and you had going all the way back to Trayvon Martin, where it's essentially, open season on black people. You know what I mean? And so if you It's kind of like Tupac said in that song Changes, pull a trigger, kill a nigga, you're a hero, and it's basically what we're seeing now. It's that violence against Black people is okay, and as long as there's one small little thing that you could use as justification. In this case, the guy was acting erratic. Acting erratic equals death. Walking home from the store equals death. Playing in a park, if you're Tamir Rice with a toy gun, equals death. If you're the guy, I can't remember his name, in Indiana, who was shopping in Walmart, who picked up a toy gun that he was going to buy for his kid, equals death. Breonna Taylor, turn signal equals death. Cigarette smoke equals death. Mike Brown, it's essentially open season on Black folks in America, and as long as there's the smallest justification, in Trayvon Martin's case, people have said, oh well, if he had only told George Floyd, I mean, I'm sorry, George Zimmerman, who he was, this wouldn't have happened. It's like, who the fuck is George Zimmerman? He's not a cop. He doesn't have any authority. He's just some guy. You know what I'm saying? And well, if he hadn't attacked George Zimmerman, well, this 15-year-old kid is walking home from the store. Some man is following him. He don't know if he's going to be kidnapped, assaulted. This could be a setup for an SA situation. He had just as much right to defend himself as anybody else. And no, that was his fault. He died. It's just, this shit is sad. And to your point, Steve, with what's coming, I mean, I'm not saying the current administration is doing anything fantastic on this issue, but for whatever you think that the current administration is doing, whatever benefit you would give them for whatever they're doing on this current situation, is gonna get worse. So, hold like Samuel L. Jackson in Jurassic Park, hold on to your butts.
I want to be clear in the sense that for me, this has been the state of this country. No matter the administration, no matter who's in there, I think you guys are making a distinct point that it's about how that administration will handle it, right? And the message that they say about the incident that occurs. Obviously, Trump is standing where he wants to stand by having this dude in the suite. So that's definitely the thing that we as people need to take note of. But as Black people, it's been open season on us since we've touched this shore. And I think, we have to, as a people, stay vigilant no matter what state we're in, no matter what government is there, no matter who's in office. We got to know that we're always going to be the target and our lives don't matter. But, in this case, to your point, the presidential administration, we like to look for something that's going to be just and good. This administration damn sure ain't going to be it. So, we have to be even more hyper vigilant in these times. I mean, because, we brought up a number of incidents where Black people being Black and going through routine things cost you your life. San Fran, 2015. It's I don't know why as people, or I don't know when we're gonna realize, America is a great country, it's a great place, but we still have a long way to go as a people. And any progress that we may have been working towards, due to these people that are coming in this year, it's going to be even harder to deal with these next 4 years.
Yep. I'm not sure that America is a great country to be in anymore. And maybe it is for some, but not for us. I mean, that's the reality that we're living in.
I mean, America's greatness, I love this country. You know what I mean? And
unfortunately, you should be ashamed of yourself.
I love the country, but I think our greatness kind of, it kind of goes to like when Steve was talking about me at the beginning of the pod, where he talks about, you know, self-purported research king or whatever. You know, I've never even wrote that research king thing. He actually is who wrote that. But but anyway,
Wait a minute. Didn't that say VP to magnanimous once?
Last week
yeah.
or 2 weeks
But
ago.
the part in the part in
I wrote
I only-
Research King, but he wrote Magnanimous, and it changed back to Research King on its own.
right, but the part in red is what I write. So in red, it used to say it always said Research King since whatever update.
No.
I never wrote Research King. I've never put that in there.
No.
But anyway,
Not true.
regardless of that, you know, we tell ourselves that, you know, we're great, but when you think about America and its history, like, what makes it great? You know, like, we're a country that enslaved people. We were one of, if not the last country to get rid of slavery. You know, we talk about freedom and things like that, and we were one of the last folks to ever stop owning people. You know what I'm saying? We talk about America being a great democracy. America has only been a democracy for about 50 years, when Black people got the right to vote in the 1960s through the Civil Rights Act. And then even after they passed the Civil Rights Act, you still had to fight longer to get states like Alabama and Mississippi to finally like start enforcing it and allowing Black people to vote, even though it was the law of the land. Segregation, inequality, you know, disparities in healthcare, in education, and all these things just across the board that other countries just do way better than us. We tell ourselves that we're great, and it becomes one of those things. You know, it's almost like a parent who tells a child, like, you know, you're the best, you're the smartest, you're so awesome, and then the kid grows up believing that they're the shit, and the kid really fucking sucks. You know what I'm saying? And
It turned out
it's
to
one of those.
be what's his face? Penny.
Who?
Oh, forget it. Go ahead.
No. But you know, so again, there's great things about this country, but you know, at the same time, we have to also recognize that this country has faults and still does have faults, and we see a lot of those faults um you know, coming to the fore right before our eyes. You know what I mean? I mean, you just talk about the things, you know, that we see that folks are voting for, things that people find acceptable, you know, the bullshit that people believe that's online, you know. So yeah, again, I love the country. I think that, you know, the we're a good country, but you know, that the whole greatness thing is something that we tell ourselves. And I think maybe we tell ourselves that shit to cover up like a lot of the faults. It's almost like a spouse who's like a domestic abuser who's like, I'm a nice guy, you know. So
Yeah, VP. I agree 100%. And
This
it's
country is a
largely
piece of shit.
it's largely because when who do we compare it to, right? 9 times out of 10, when you talk about this nation, and there's a lot of political agendas behind that, right? We'll look at China and say, well, we're a great country because in China you can't do this, you can't do that. In Russia, you can't do this, you can't do that. Which, you know, for them, I mean, you know, that's their way of life, whatever it is. Sure, we're better. We're better than North Korea, absolutely. But are we better than, you know, a Canada or a place, you know, that gives
Japan.
you Japan, you know, a place like Panama that gives you, you know, land with your citizenship and, you know, shit like that. So, yeah, you're absolutely right. You know, we usually compare ourselves to the most extreme contrast. But,
yeah,
you know,
Let me put it in perspective for you, and then I'm gonna move on. America is the Dallas Cowboys. Dallas Cowboys was America's team. We were the greatest team in of the 90s. And here we are as fans, here we are as media, still telling fans that the Cowboys are America's team. And the reality is Cowboys are not America's team. It's a label that was placed to them. America was the greatest country to be a part of because it was, you know, land of the free, home of the brave, or whatever the fuck, land of, you know, and the land of opportunity. No longer is it that. No longer is it that. Is there opportunity? Absolutely. But we're moving into a place where that opportunity is not there for you and me. That opportunity is not there for someone coming from another country to here. And we're no longer comparing ourselves to where 95% of the rest of the globe was third world countries. Countries are now catching up with us. When we talk about technology, we're behind in technology. When we talk about education, we're behind in education. When we talk about the dollar isn't holding weight as it was before. So while America at one point was the greatest country to be a part of, at this point, we're the fucking dumpster. Maybe not the worst, but where we should be, because we have the quote unquote best military, we have the best infrastructure, we have the smartest people, the best school. Get the fuck out of here. America is a piece of shit country, dog. I would say we're probably top 10.
America does have the best health.
This is why I always say to y'all, again, we were the greatest country based on who you're talking to. You're talking to the native indigenous people of Florida and New York, etc. We were not great. We brought them. We took their land. We kicked them out of here. You're talking about the descendants and folks of slaves and people that suffered from Jim Crow, and churches were burned, and etc. etc. This place ain't been great for everybody. It's been great for those it's been great for. It wasn't great for those Japanese Americans in the internment camps in the 40s. The Mexican Americans getting beat to death in San Diego. It wasn't always the greatest place all the time for everybody. It's always great for those who can maximize it and benefit from it all the time. But depending on who you are and when you are in this nation and where you are, it might not have been the best for you, dog.
Dog, the expectation is for the common American is to get up and go to work for 47 years before they're eligible for any of the money that they gave to the government, 6% of the fucking money that they've earned, before they're eligible to get that money back. Suck my dick, America. This fucking country is a piece of shit.
So I think that when people, especially the people who talk about the greatness of the country, they talk about it like, so like what EJ said, it depends on who you are and when you are, right, in America. That kind of determines its greatness. And so I think you look at a person like a Howard Schultz, right? I don't know if you guys know who that is. Howard Schultz used to be the CEO of Starbucks. And I don't know if he founded Starbucks or he was just the CEO of it or whatever, but he's a billionaire now that basically came to Starbucks. Now, this guy talks about his upbringing, growing up in public housing and, lived poor and all this kind of stuff. And, he gets to go to college on a scholarship and all this kind of things like that. So grew up in poverty to become a billionaire. You know what I'm saying? And people look at that kind of story and say, man, America is a great place. You know what I mean? But in other countries, people grow up in poverty and become billionaires, right? J.K. Rowling in United Kingdom, she wrote the Harry Potter books on her cell phone.
Yeah, or whatever. Fuck her. She's a Trump supporter.
No doubt. But I'm just making a point, right? But in those other countries, they say, hey, we're glad that you made it, but we're also going to charge you some taxes to make sure we can help other people make it. You know what I mean? You don't get to just make it and then pull the ladder up behind you and say, fuck everybody else. You know what I mean? And that's the difference between America and some of those other countries that EJ are talking about, like Canada and places in Europe and shit like that, is that have freedom and have success and build a business and build success, build wealth, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But you got to also give some back to the community to make sure everybody else can move up too. You know what I mean? It's not just I got mine, fuck everybody else. And that's how we do it here in this country, where we say I got mine, fuck everybody else or whatever. And not only is it I got mine and fuck everybody else, I'm going to actively try to stop people from getting shit or whatever to make sure that not only do I got mine, but I get more.
And that you don't get none, because if you catch up to me, you know what I mean? Like, think about it. You got
everybody else, right?
Yeah, you got Bezos, you got fucking Elon. Like, these guys need more because they don't want people to catch up to them. You know, or they want more. Like
Elon Musk's wealth surpassed $400 billion. Like, what the fuck?
To your point, you brought up a perfect guy in Schultz, right? Who 70, I think 70 something, if I remember, or 71. And I randomly noticed because I was looking at Starbucks the other day. I don't drink coffee, but dude grew up in Brooklyn, and sure, you might have grew up in the projects, but Brooklyn then, for a white male of a certain background, ain't the same as Brooklyn back then for some black folks. Because, like you said, VP, he's white, male, privileged, got where he got to go. Don't try to sit here and tell us you grew up thugging it, my brother. You did not. Okay? You know what I'm saying? And to your point, these are the people that say, oh, yeah, I was in the everyday All-American boy. Guys like Woody Johnson on the Jets, father owned Johnson and Johnson, and you decided to take $800 million from your foundation, your family's foundation, and buy a football team. You and then say this is your baby, your project. I did it by myself. Like it's fucking ridiculous. It's fucking absurd. It's absurd.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's yeah, whatever. Somebody posted in the chat that Monica, the singer, would beat the brakes off of Remy Ma. And that comes because in our episode title, there is a moment there that says EJ is going to give his take on the Remy Ma and Papoose situation. For those who don't know what have taken place, including VP, the research
I don't know.
king, Mr. Research King, but don't know shit about shit.
Ask me what happened in South. Ask me what's going on in South Korea.
When a blood clot care about South Korea. I'm in the best country in the world. So Remy Ma and Papoose are a couple. They've been together for a very long time. Remy Ma is a rapper. She's attached to Fat Joe, Big Pun, for years. She went to jail for 9 years because she shot somebody. Papoose was her person at the time. He stood by her, waited for her to come out of jail. She came out. They got together, created this whole Black Love brand where they now have clothing brand. They have a school. They have I'm not a school. I'm sorry, a store. I want to say it's in South Carolina, maybe North Carolina. It's one of the Carolinas. They've been on Love and Hip Hop. Remy Ma now has a battle rap company that she owns, and the face of that battle rap company, a young battle rapper by the name of Easy the Block Captain, who is the face of that company, slept with Remy Ma a couple years ago, and it was rumored that Papoose ran up on this dude, punched him in his face, knocked him out. He didn't get up. It was rap. And it was kind of quiet. Like, you don't hear much from Pap. He's just like, whatever, days go by, life goes on. We're not together. We're going to make it work for our kids, blah, blah, blah. Well, this past week, Remy Ma took to the internet. I think she got tired of getting dragged a little bit through the media because people were saying she was a piece of shit for fucking the face of her company while, Papoose held her down for so long. And she posts some text messages between Papoose and the young lady that he's dealing with, which is the boxer. I forget her name. EJ, you know it better than I do. And so there's back and forth between them on the internet, where she's calling out the boxer chick. The boxer chick is like, whatever. Remy Ma's like, I like to box. So we'll see what comes from that. But from your standpoint, EJ, looking at this situation, give me your thoughts.
So to clarify some points, Papoose married Remy Ma while still incarcerated. They both own the battle rap company and managed Easy the Block Captain, who is a Philadelphia rapper. Knew both Pap and Rem, and it hasn't been about 2 years. I think it's only been about a year. Within the past year, there were rumors swirling around that she was messing with Easy the Block Captain, and that Papoose ran up on him and beat him up. And over time, just this last Christmas, Papoose leaked the photo that came out with the two of them hugged up. You had Geechee Gotti, who's a battle rapper, who basically, exposed the entire affair in front of Remy Ma while battling Easy the Block Captain. This entire time, Remy and Pat were silent. Remy never denied any of these allegations. And even in the time of this going on, she went from Easy the Block Captain to another alleged rapper. And it didn't come out until more recently. The people that know this community, they were for the last 2-3 weeks, maybe even a month, they were posting different videos on how things about to hit the fan because Remy Ma was spiraling out of control. But until recently, we didn't have any evidence of that. Until to your point, Steve, she started posting text messages that she supposedly screenshotted from Papoose' phone while he was at her house sleeping. And he's apparently moved on with the Detroit-based female self-proclaimed greatest woman of all time, champion Clarissa Shields, who has a movie coming out on Christmas. All these things. And she's about 26, 27 years old, I think. And, that's supposedly the woman that Papoose has moved on with. Papoose is standing in the ground saying, look, I've been quiet. I didn't say anything about your situation. Now that I moved on, now you look bitter. And that's exactly what it is. Women, I've seen Black women all across the timeline. Some think Remy Ma be very upset with her because Papoose was a rare guy in the sense that he's held his woman down through jail, married her, all these things, created a family, created an empire, and she seemingly just for the world to see. And now, as a scorned lover, because he's moved on and has not, quote unquote, fought to get her back, she's unscorched earth. They've now since deleted all of their posts about one another, but she looks super crazy right now.
Well, he did fight for her. He punched this nigga in her face. And he deserved that. And he deserved. Right. Look, yo, when you fucking a dude's wife, you fuck a married man's wife or a married woman.
That you knew personally.
Right. I was gonna get to that. You fuck a married woman, then you know what the potential. You should know what the potential is there, right? There's a lot that goes along with that. Now you fuck a married woman that you have had lunch with, that you've had breakfast with, that you've had drinks with, that you've chilled with, that you've been around, that you've had business ventures with, right? Like, put that on a pedestal, multiply that times 10. Because I hear people like, oh, well, he should be mad at her, like he should address the things with her. And I agree with that. 99% of the time when I don't know you, right? Like if you're married and your lady steps outside of the marriage with a dude that you don't know, you can't really be mad at that dude because he could easily say, whether he does or doesn't know, I didn't know that she was married. You know what I'm saying? Right. And even if he did, he's a man and he don't owe you no loyalty. But if I know you, I owe you loyalty. If you know me, you owe me that loyalty. And realistically, if you decide not to, then that's the ultimate disrespect, and you know what comes with it.
Nah, I agree with Steve. I mean, like, because at the end of the day, like you said, if it's like some, some office fling, maybe not an office fling, because the person probably knows that she's married, but like, but if it's something where it's like totally disconnected from the prime relationship, the other person can easily say, I had no clue this person was in a relationship. I feel cheated on as well. I thought we were in a relationship, but in a situation like that, where like this dude works for them and is managed by them, so it's no way he doesn't know that they're a couple. You know what I'm saying? And to do that that's crazy. That's foul. That's super foul, yo.
Yeah, it becomes a violation now of me personally because it's like, okay, on the one front, you were probably lusting from the beginning. Cool, you lusted for her. But then it's like you thought I was that soft, you thought I was that chump to where you was gonna do this and throw this in my face. I wasn't gonna do shit. Now this is a violation of me as a man. And Pat Poose, those saying he needs to address Remy. I said he's been asking her for a divorce for this entire ordeal. And it's evident that, she's 30, I want to say 40, 41 maybe. And she was dealing with this young cat, messed with another young cat. Not to mention your husband just beat the dude up. And it's all over the internet and you're embarrassed now.
He's lying. He hasn't been asking for a divorce.
I mean, he claims to be, but he claims that he was, but
he says she won't sign the papers.
There is no fault divorce in this country in every single state. If you want a divorce, all you gotta do is go to court.
Well, it doesn't always work like that. You have to file, yes, but
hold on.
He's probably trying to have a divorce that's amicable, where they don't go to court.
You're probably right. You're probably right, but they have business ventures together. There's a lot there to where if he walks away, she's the bigger name one. They got kids involved. They got probably property involved. They have a business involved. Like when he says, I'm asking for a divorce, to your point, he's asking for it to be done amicably. Let's sit down. Let's figure this out. Even if we come to blows in that, that's fine. But we need to sit down and figure this out. I'm not going to just go in there and be like, yo, I relinquished my marriage and all the rights to everything that we've built for the last X amount of years, including the 9 years that I held this bitch down while she was in jail. Like, that's the bigger piece to me. Like, if I sat down and held you down for 9 years while you in jail, there was no tabloids that ever came out. And Papoose got hot at a minute there for a little bit when he did the alphabetical slaughter music and all that. You never seen any pictures, videos, or nothing. No bitches on the internet coming out saying, yo, I'm fucking Papoose. None of that. Like, I held you down like that to where you came out and I rebranded us as Black Love to the point where we were able to capitalize off of that and build our little brand. And you're going to slide off? And then now after you slide off, you're going to make me look like the bad guy by posting my text messages because I decided to move on? The fuck out of here, bitch. You got me fucked up, yo.
And even the one time that there was a young lady that came out trying to say that, she was messing with Pat, he dispelled the rumors, faced him head on, and there was never any other discussion. And to your point, Steve, about the amicable piece, and both of y'all points about the amicable piece, Remy has more to lose in this divorce potentially than Papoose does because
she's the one who cheated.
That, and she's been the more successful entity of the pair, as on a rap career. So, I mean, she's not making the sisters look good, but you still have those delusional eggs out there that side with Remy. And you know what I find, guys, and this is totally anecdotal research. When I look at these posts on Facebook and all these things, and I see the women that are bashing Papoose and the men most, you know what fascinates me most? You go to click on their profile picture because I'm just curious. They're the ones with husbands and 2 sons. And it always makes me wonder, like, does your husband don't think like this? It's weird.
I'm starting to learn that a lot of what we see on the internet is bots too. Like, a lot of this shit.
I'm talking about personal people I know.
Oh, I got you. Well, they're stupid. We talk about that all the time. Most of these people are stupid.
It's probably people who, the folks you're seeing posting that shit, EJ, are probably people who say stuff like, happy wife, happy life, as if like both partners shouldn't be happy in the relationship or whatever. You know what I mean? Like you have to prioritize your wife's happiness over yours or whatever. And I've always thought that saying was complete bullshit or whatever. But that's probably who you're seeing that stuff from. People who think like that, and so they're like, yeah, she cheated on him. But so in their mind, go ahead.
This nigga here, he about to die. I mean, that's when you talk too damn much. When you start to fucking choke on your own fucking words, and you nigga stop and get some oxygen. Long-winded ass. This motherfucker.
It was me having a case of cognitive dissonance. Like my mouth was saying something that I don't believe.
Yeah, right. Yo, what's the name of what's the boxer's name, EJ? Because every time you say it, you break up with your fucking $9.99 internet. Matter of fact, who is your internet provider?
I think he said Clarissa Shields.
Clarissa Shields.
Carissa Shields.
Clarissa Shields.
Shields.
Still
Shields.
How you spell it?
Like a shield, like a shield.
I'm not fucking with you.
That's audio.
Clarissa Shields. She's a boxer. So,
she's the most decorated boxer of all time right now. Female boxer of all time.
You think we can get one of those Jake Paul fights like between her and Remy Ma?
Remy is not one of those problems.
Remy says she likes to box. We know she don't want them problems. We know
she likes to watch. She likes to watch boxing, and she likes to fight, but she ain't going. Plus, Remy, you 40-something years old. This young gun at the prime of her life will knock her the fuck out.
Everybody got a plan until they get punched in the nose. Remy will get slept. Well, it's we're getting, what is it, December 15th? We got what? Week 15. 3 more weeks of NFL before the playoffs start. 3 more weeks of the NFL before the playoffs start. And we're moving in an interesting direction here. Tides are changing a little bit. Teams that were winning are losing. Teams that were losing are winning. You got the 49ers who are all but out of it.
That always lose, continue to lose. Dolphins.
Yeah. Dolphins, Jets, yeah.
Pieces of shit.
I
fucking hate those guys, yo. Like, I know y'all didn't watch Breaking Bad, but y'all probably seen the GIF or the meme. There's like a meme from it in when the character who plays Jesse, he's like looking up at the camera and he's crying. He's like, he can't keep getting away with this. So, like, that's how I feel, Dolphins fan. Like, every year, I'm like, I'm not gonna get my hopes up. And then like week 7, I'm like, yo, we looking good. And then by the time we get to this point in the season, I'm like, what the fuck, man? Like, I can't believe I let them do this shit to me again.
I thought Dolphins can still make the playoffs though.
Yeah, but they're not, because they're gonna lose today against Houston. And then if we lose today, it's over.
Y'all should lose to Houston.
We have to win out.
Like dog shit. Houston's looking like dog.
It's the Dolphins, dog. We shouldn't have lost to the Colts. We lost to them though.
Yeah, there's an outside shot at a lot of teams making the playoffs, but the reality is most of them won't. It takes like an act of Congress for the Dolphins to make the playoffs at this point. Arizona 6-7. Indy has an option, a possibility. That's not likely going to happen. Even the Cowboys still have an inkling of a Cincinnati. They're a lot of them are still mathematically in it until after this week. A lot of people are going to be 100% out of it, no question.
Right.
Because a lot of it is winning out, and then also other teams losing out, right? Which makes things really, really challenging at that stage.
If we win all except the San Fran game, we still would have a shot, only because the San Fran loss would be to an NFC team. And so all these different like little tiebreaker scenarios wouldn't necessarily be impacted because that was an NFC loss. But Other than that, all the rest of our schedule is against AFC teams, and if we lose any one of them, we're done. And I don't think we're going to beat Houston today, just because. Can we beat them? Sure, we should be able to beat them, but will we? It's the Dolphins.
Let me ask you guys today, week
And
15.
it's December. That's losing time for us. Like,
well, it's been losing time for you guys for the last 60 years. Let me ask you guys or 50 years. Let me ask you guys a question. Today, week 15, if you were picking where everything stands today, who's coming out of the NFC and who's coming out of the AFC, who are your choices and why? EJ, start.
AFC is going to be the Kansas City Patriots.
Okay.
The AFC. And yeah, and I would say for the NFC, it's going to be the Detroit Lions. The Detroit Lions, most complete team that's over injuries, got the coaching. I just think they're primed to do it. I don't think Minnesota can do it because Sam Darnold's still the quarterback, and he's still shit. And I just think, Detroit can get healthy a little bit, later down the stretch in the last few games. They'll lock it in. I think they're better, more resilient team. But in the AFC, no one else matters other than the Kansas City Patriots. They find ways to win. They get a lot of help from the referees. Yeah, and I think Josh Allen just doesn't have enough in Buffalo to do it. And I think the Bills just perennially just find a way to lose.
I agree with a lot of what EJ said. I do think that Detroit is the team to beat coming out of the NFC. The thing that gives me pause on Detroit is the coach, because Dan Campbell, and what some may have called aggressiveness last year has seemed to double down this year on going forward on fourth down and stupid decisions and things like that, not taking field goals, and so I don't like, he's a tiger that can't change his stripes, and so I see him being that same person in the playoffs, and he can end up costing them a game the way that he did last season against the Cowboys. Was it the Cowboys? Yeah, the Cowboys. Oh no, that was regular season when that happened, right? Whatever.
It was regular. Yeah.
Okay, but you get my point still. You can see him doing some nonsense like that in the playoffs or whatever. But I think Detroit is the team to beat in the NFC. On the AFC side, I agree with EJ again, but from a slightly smaller, a slightly small difference. I do think Kansas City is the team to beat, but I think what's going to hurt teams when they play against KC when the playoffs come around is that I think teams may be lulled into this false sense of, well, this team is not really that good. They're kind of like getting by, they're escaping, and this team has shown a sense of being able to like dial up to the next level in the playoffs. You know what I mean? They're well coached. We all love Andy Reid, all three of us. They're well coached on offense and defense. They got great players. They got a great defense, and you can see these guys going to another gear in the playoffs and end up showing people a level they haven't seen this regular season, where they think like, oh, this team is done or whatever, and they can get by. But I think KC is the team to beat. I don't believe in Buffalo until they show me that they need to be taken seriously.
I'm gonna start with the AFC, and I'm gonna take a dark shot because I don't want to be safe like you bitches. I'm gonna say Pittsburgh is coming out of the AFC. Pittsburgh's defense is great. Pittsburgh's coach is great. At some point, we have to give this man his flowers, and we need to start talking about where Mike Tomlin falls on all-time coaches. The fact that this man has never had a losing record season. We do need to have that conversation. So when we talk about coaching, we talk about Andy Reid, and we talk about playoffs. I think that's a big one. I also think we got to keep an eye on the Chargers. They're not for play a little bit if you pay attention when they get hot. But Pittsburgh, the thing that's going to hurt the Chargers is that J.K. Dobbins is down and they don't have a running back after that. But Pittsburgh has two good running backs. They've got a veteran quarterback who has won a Super Bowl, knows what it takes, and when he absolutely needs to, can protect the ball. What needs to happen is they need to get their Pickens. They need to get Pickens more discipline. Like, this kid can't be fighting with a DB when there's a Hail Mary thrown. You know what I mean? When there's a deep ball thrown, he can't be fighting with a DB, outside of the play when there's a potential to catch this ball and win games, right? So I think that's their downfall is Pickens has to get right, but I think the Steelers have everything it takes to beat any one of these teams. I think they have a tougher time with the Bills than they would with Kansas City, only because, to your point, VP, I do feel like Kansas City has been sliding by. I do get that it's Patrick Mahomes. I do get that the refs can turn it up in the playoffs for them. But Pittsburgh and Mike Tomlin is smart. He knows ball control. He knows he's going to need to run the ball and keep Patrick Mahomes off the field, which is what Buffalo never does, and that's why they lose to those guys. In the NFC, unfortunately, I have to say it, I think the Eagles are coming out of the NFC. I hate Nick Sirianni. I think they're absolutely dog shit as a franchise, but Saquon Barkley is that difference maker for me. I like the Detroit Lions and I think they're good, but I agree with you, VP. They're going to do something stupid. Their coach is going to do something stupid that's going to jeopardize a game, and he's going to do it in the first quarter. Just mark my words. There's going to be a point. It's not going to be in the fourth quarter like it was with the Cowboys. It's not going to be, late in the game. It's not going to be overtime like he did that dumb shit on Thursday Night Football where they still won the game. It's going to be in the first quarter or the second quarter where he's going to leave points and they're going to end up losing by 2 or 1 or 3. It's going to come down to, you're going to have them. Someone's going to say, well, that kick from the first quarter is really coming back to haunt him. Like we hear that every year, and I feel like we will see that with Detroit.
He's going to be on his own 22 and go for it on fourth down,
and like he did, and yeah, exactly. In fact, I think the Vikings have a better shot than Detroit because their coach understands that when you get into those big situations, you have to kick the ball, you have to take the points, you have to make the right decisions. And so that's why, for me, I don't see Detroit getting there. And unfortunately, I do see Philly coming out of the NFC, which really pains me to say.
I don't think I disagree with you on this. The Chargers.
Me, I was going to do that as well.
I think the year may come because Harbaugh is a phenomenal coach. Herbert is very good talent. I mean, we got to give Harbaugh respect. He got into a Super Bowl, and he can prove that he knows
what does that mean?
What to do. I mean, to a Super Bowl, he knows how to get back. But my point is, it's the Chargers. Every year for the last 15 years is their year, and they just always blow it. I can't buy them until they prove otherwise.
Yeah, no, J.K. Dobbins hurts them significantly, but you have to. I mean, I'm impressed with the Chargers. Their number one wide receiver is Ladd McConkey. It's a rookie. You know what I'm saying? Their running back room is made up of the rejects from Baltimore and J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards. Their quarterback is a guy that VP keeps telling me that Tua Tagovailoa is a better quarterback than him. And I same difference. He still finds ways to make things happen and win games, right? Like, end of the day, we talk about stats only, but that doesn't work when we're talking about about LeBron. Well, it also doesn't work when we're talking about Tua. Like, winning counts. Winning counts. And for the Chargers to be winning the games that they're winning with the team that they have, they're winning games running, they're winning the games passing. I get it. They have a good coach. You still have to give this kid his flowers. I mean, I'm not on the record to say he's better than Tua today. I'm not going to say he's better than him. But the way that you talk about him to make it seem like he's this fucking bum dropping a bucket guy and Tua is the superstar, I don't know if I agree with that.
I don't ever say Tua's a superstar. I never say that. To EJ's point
No,
about
I mean in comparison. When you compare the two, it's like you're saying Tua is Superman and Justin Herbert is handyman.
I got you. I mean, when you look at a Tua and Herbert side to side, I mean, Tua is more accurate than him. He completes more of his passes than him. Herbert has the big, sexy throws. You know, he throws the ball 80 yards down the field, and people say, "Whoa, look at that 80-yard touchdown!" You know, but you don't throw 80-yard passes all day. There's sometimes you got to fit something in a window. You know what I mean? And Herbert can't do that. Herbert is basically Trevor Lawrence in LA, essentially. And in terms of
You mean the 8-5 Justin Herbert led Chargers?
Yeah, that's
I wasn't sure if that's what we were comparing to the 6-7 Tua led Miami Dolphins.
I mean, Tua did miss 4 games, you know, so but still, but whatever, you know. He leads the league in what is it, passer rating and completion percentage. So I mean, you know, those things matter, you know. With missing 4 games, he still
it's
leads
not
the league.
translating to wins.
He missed 4 games. But regardless, forget the head-to-head for a second, because I want to come back to Harbaugh here. This fantasy that people have on Harbaugh being some master coach is complete bullshit. EJ said, I mean, he's been to a Super Bowl. We got to give him his flowers. You know, what's his face? Dan Quinn's been to a Super Bowl. I don't see you giving him any flowers around here. You know what I mean?
The reason we don't give Dan Quinn his flowers, he was a good coach, but the problem was the way he lost in the fashion he lost in the Super Bowls would almost negated any props you can give him.
Okay, no problem. Nick Sirianni's been to Super Bowl. Yeah, where the flowers?
He should get flowers. People just don't like him.
Come on, man. Like we have to stop this kind of stuff, man.
Sirianni doesn't deserve flowers.
Harbaugh could potentially be the first and only coach to ever win a national championship in the Super Bowl. He took a 49 team to the Super Bowl and lost to probably one of the teams of our generation in the Super Bowl. If he had won that game, this would be a totally different conversation.
Yeah, but he didn't win that game. That's the point. We can't keep saying, "Well, if he had done this," the conversation is different because he didn't win.
Mike McDaniel was a good coach. Mike McDaniel was a good coach.
I think Mike McDaniel he's okay. I thought he was good when we first got him, you know, but now initially when I thought Mike McDaniel was a good coach, it was because, oh man, I'm looking at what was happening in the 49ers. Wow. He comes to us and it's like, okay, I see the possibility Tua gets hurt. Last season it's like, holy shit. But then when it comes to December, it's winning time, we lose. You know, I'm seeing the bullshit play calling. His situational play calling is bad. His clock management is bad. You know, he gives up on the run too easily. And you know, he leaves some wanting out there. You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, I've said this on multiple pods. We have to call a thing, okay? And we can't just be saying like, oh well, you know, this guy, you know, he reached this thing. You know, if I went out for a marathon and I ran, you know, 25.9 miles, you don't say, man, I mean, he almost finished the marathon. He was 0.1 mile away from completing it. We got to give him some flowers on that.
Yeah. But Harbaugh, I mean, I guess with Harbaugh it's a little different because I mean, you talk about Super Bowl, but then you talk about he went down to college and he won at the college stage. Sure,
did he though? Did he win?
He did win
in college.
He did win.
He was suspended for like half the season.
He won at the University of Michigan. He built the team.
At Michigan.
But he wasn't even the coach the whole season.
He was a half season.
Whatever it was, 3 games, whatever. He was missing part of the show.
Tua missed 4 games.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not sitting here calling Tua some
yes, you are.
champion
yes,
or whatever.
You are. Yes, you are. Law of averages, baby. If Tua was playing more games, he'd have more turnovers, no question. Because this guy turns the ball over every single game. Matter of fact, I got to do my prize picks, and he's definitely gonna turn the ball over today. It's gonna
Tua
happen.
doesn't turn the ball over a lot. That's just false.
What? He does what? What?
He's been good with the ball lately.
Nope.
He's
I'm
been
not
good
sure
with
what
the
the
ball
hell
lately.
you're talking about.
He missed 4 games. Historically, Tua has a lot of turnovers. He had more interceptions last year. He had fumbles. Forget about it. I mean, come on, man. What are we talking about?
Now, again, we talked about this last season with Tua's fumbles. Most of Tua's fumbles were
Oh, now
on
look.
center
You don't
quarterback
turn
exchange.
over. You don't turn over the ball. He doesn't have
We
turnover issues. Wait a
we
minute. But
come on
now,
now. Here's the thing. Here's the difference, right? And again, you are looking at the numbers. I watch the games. Anytime that there's a fumble on the quarterback running back exchange or the center quarterback exchange, the fumble is credited to the quarterback. And we have problems at center where the ball is not snapped properly.
what that mean?
So you can't blame all of that on Tua. That's just come on now. That's not fair.
We blame the quarterback when the wide receiver lets the ball go off his hands that he should have caught.
I don't think that's fair either. The ball pops off the wide receiver's chest, pops in the air, gets picked off by the safety. That shouldn't count as an interception against the quarterback.
But it is. We can't change the
Right.
rules.
Okay, so we can't change the rules, but we can add context. Numbers don't lie, but they also don't tell the whole story.
Do we count a fumble if someone gets hurt on the play and they get rid of the ball? It's a fumble. A fumble's a fumble. It's a turnover. We're talking about turnovers. And we're talking about numbers. So you can't say that and say, "Oh, I watch the games," but then say that Tua is super accurate and not count the fact that he throws a shitload of screens. Ta-da!
Tua
See,
doesn't throw a
EJ,
shitload of screens.
I got him, EJ.
The Dolphins are not even a top screen team in
He's
the
on the
NFL.
ropes. He's on the ropes. Is he even swinging
that's
back?
totally not true.
This is like Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson right now. Is he even swinging back? They're gonna think he's taking a dive because I got him.
That's complete bullshit.
But not blood clot even try.
But I mean, now play Harbaugh's ability to get to a Super Bowl. Everybody don't make it to a Super Bowl. This guy did it without Kaepernick at quarterback. I can't tell you who his top receiver was. I mean, it's not something to sneeze at, you know.
No doubt. No doubt, EJ. You are right. Making it to a Super Bowl is an accomplishment in and of itself. And you know, folks do deserve credit for making it there because it's hard to get to the Super Bowl in the NFL. But a guy goes to one Super Bowl and loses, and we're talking about giving him all these flowers or whatever. It's not like Harbaugh has made some kind of name for himself. Harbaugh to me is like Charlie Weiss. He's like it's more sizzle than steak. You know what I mean? There's all this Josh McDaniel. There's all this like hype around the name, but there's not a lot of proof in the pudding. You want to give somebody flowers for going to the Super Bowl? You know who I'll give some flowers for going to the Super Bowl and losing? Marv Levy. Marv Levy went to 4 Super Bowls in a row and lost. That's hard as fuck to do. You know what I mean? But John Harbaugh, man, get the hell out of here with that. Or Jim, is he Jim or John? I think he's Jim. Whatever. The Chargers Harbaugh. No,
I'm not giving Harbaugh his flowers because I also don't give McCarthy his flowers.
And McCarthy's won a Super Bowl.
Right, that's what I mean.
That's because Steve hates him currently.
No, I know that. You got to give McCarthy his flowers. McCarthy deserves flowers.
He's a shitball coach. He don't deserve shit. Sorry, dog. Belichick's going to college. How do you guys feel about that?
I think, first and foremost, fuck Bill Belichick. Let me just start with saying that. But also, I think that is it kind of, Belichick left the Patriots. He was fired. They made it seem like they left on mutual terms, blah, blah, blah. But it was either he was going to leave or he was going to be fired. So, whatever.
Yeah.
And I think that him going to UNC shows you that the Belichick era in the NFL is over, because reports are, according to ESPN, that he had reached out to the Jets about potentially being interviewed for their open head coaching job. There was no interest there. And I think that maybe his agent has been told by other league contacts that the agent has that there's no interest for him in NFL, because people probably think, man, we thought this was a Brady and Belichick situation that was winning all that success. And it seems like it was more Brady than it was Belichick. And so teams are not interested in that, Going to UNC, I'm not really sure how well he's going to do there. And the reason why I say that is that Belichick talked about him at USC is going to be introducing a more professional program. These kids are basically going to play in an NFL scheme at the college level. They'll be ready to transfer, or not transfer, but to translate to the NFL and all that kind of thing like that. And all the things that he was talking about, it sounds like the stuff that a coach was saying 10 years ago. Today, with NIL and the transfer portal and all this kind of stuff like that, coaching just ain't the same no more. And North Carolina is, first of all, not a big name school. He got them to commit to take their NIL spending from 4 million to 20 million. That's cute, but he's going to bring in some guy who is going to be like a 3-star recruit. He'll have some success, and then that kid is going to get poached by Michigan, Alabama, USC, Georgia, or something like that, and he's going to have to start all over again. And you're going to see that repeated over and over and over again, and he's not going to have success. He'll get paid, get a nice contract, but it's not going to be successful. And after saying all that, I'll close with just basically saying, fuck Bill Belichick again.
I agree with that sentiment. I agree with a lot of what you're saying. I don't know how well he's going to translate for all the reasons that you said. The only saving grace I think he does have is that program over the years has rebuilt itself. I think Mac Brown had it, and I think they had a lot of talent over the years. So I think the situation, willing to give him carte blanche and give him a lot of resources and a pretty decent roster to kind of start out with. So I think they will do something early, and he'll look good. When it comes down to the management of the future and what these kids will do in the future, I think that'll be the question.
I'm gonna tell you why Bill Belichick went to college. Bill Belichick went to college for 2 reasons. One, there's no question Bill Belichick could have gotten a defensive coordinator role. Bill Belichick was on his Allen Iverson shit and was like, I'm not going to no defensive coordinator. I'm a head coach. That's one. Mm-hmm. 2, Bill Belichick is trying to set his son up still. Bill Belichick saw that after him getting out of the Patriots, his son was not a favorite there. His son was unable to seek employment in the NFL anywhere else. I think he's trying to get his son. I thought he was
the Commanders DC.
What's his name again?
The son. It's like Steven something like that, I think. I could have swore I read that his son is the Commanders DC. I'm looking it up right now. Go ahead.
Yeah. I don't think he is. I could be wrong, but I don't think he is. Oh, you're right. No. He's a DC for University of Washington.
Oh, okay. I remember seeing something Washington, but I knew he was coaching.
Yeah, he's a DC for University of Washington. So I think he's trying to get keep his son moving in the direction of getting into a head coaching position and then potentially getting into the NFL as a coach to continue the Belichick legacy. So I think that's where it goes. I have no question that Steven Belichick is going to make his way to UNC with Bill and play a part
100%.
there, right? And so, that's what I think is the reason why Belichick is back in college. I don't have any feels about it because you guys know I don't really watch college football, but for the person, I think that's the reason. Staying in college football real quick, shout out to my guy, Travis Hunter. As much as people thought, you guys thought, and I didn't want to believe it, that the media was going to TO him and they were going to make him deal with the hate make an example out of him because they hate Deion. he still ended up winning the Heisman last night in a unanimous decision, and they say it wasn't even close.
It was close.
That's kind of questionable that JNT.
It was the closest we've actually had in a generation.
You said that about the election. But he ended up winning. I saw a post earlier that said Ashton, I don't know if I'm pronouncing his name right, but Gene T had
You
the
said it right
second
the first
best. He had the second best uh performance that we've ever seen in college football from a running back. And he should have won that. So I don't know how you feel about that. I think Travis Hunter, personally, I said it last time we potted, he's a two-way player, and he made a difference on both sides of the ball, sometimes from one play to the next. And because of that, there's no comparison, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think Travis Hunter should have won, and I just pulled it up here. The difference between Travis Hunter and Ashton Janty's um Heisman voting was the smallest margin of victory since 2009, according to ESPN. Um, um, yeah, I thought he should have won. I thought that it was possible that you could see the media, pull a fast one because of the hate for Dion. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it being this close is kind of showing you that may have been there, that kind of bias against Dion translating to the, you know what I'm saying. But regardless, at the end of the day, whether he won by one vote or a million, he still won, right? I thought it was the right decision. The thing that actually surprised me, is going to sound biased, but I don't mean it that way, is Cam Ward, the University of Miami quarterback, being in fourth. I thought that he would finish in either second or third, and he finished fourth in the voting, which was really surprising to me. But that's neither here nor there. Regardless, if he was second or third, he still lost. So, but
First,
right, this Heisman, your second place is just first loser. So, but this Heisman class here is going to be interesting here because you literally are you're likely looking at, two of the top three picks in the upcoming draft. A lot of people think Shador will go number one overall. Travis Hunter, probably two, and then Cam Ward likely three. So it's gonna be interesting to see what happens with those guys once they get to the league. But I thought it was the right decision. Oh, and also before you get us out of college, real quick, I'm not sure if you're gonna transfer. I don't know what word I was trying to use, but
transition.
There you go. Your boy Teddy Two Gloves, Teddy Bridgewater, who after he retired from the NFL became the Miami Northwestern Senior High, commonly referred to in Miami as the West, led them to a high school state title, first year's coach.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Shout out to Teddy. If he didn't get blown up that time when he was with Minnesota, I think he might have had a better career.
Mm-hmm.
So here's the thing: we don't know how this thing ends, right? When we talk about the NFL, so the Giants are 2-11, Carolina's 3-10, Tennessee's 3-10, Jacksonville's 3-10, Cleveland's 3-10, New England's 3-10, Las Vegas is 2-11, and the Jets are 3-10. So when we look at that first pick, I think depending on where it falls, so I think Travis Hunter goes first if Jacksonville is the first pick.
Mm-hmm.
I think Travis Hunter goes first potentially if Carolina is the first pick and they still really do believe in their quarterback situation.
Mm-hmm.
And if Cleveland is the first and New England is the first pick. I think any other route is a chance for Shador to go first. Jets. I think the Jets would pick him. I think Las Vegas would pick him. I think there's a lot of opportunity, but one way or another, I think the two of them are either 1-2 or 1-3 in some capacity, like you said.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I agree as well. What'll be interesting though is if somebody pulls a because we all have our thoughts going into the draft, and from everything I'm seeing, it seems like everybody thinks that Shador will be the top quarterback in the draft. But it wouldn't surprise me if, like the same way we saw Penix all of a sudden, get scooped up by Atlanta. If when it's time for that first quarterback to come off the board, whether it's the Raiders, the Jets, whoever it's the first team picking at QB first, pull the trigger for Cam Ward over Shador. It'll be interesting. You never know what these teams are at. But I agree with you. If those teams you mentioned end up getting that top pick, that it'll end up being Travis Hunter. And if not, then it's likely going to be Shador. It's basically a race for those two, depending on which team ends up in first and second, basically in terms of draft order.
Yeah, I think Giants, Tennessee, Jets, if any one of those three are the top pick, then I think we see Shador and Dion go to the same place.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
If it's one of those three.
I also wouldn't be surprised if a dark horse team, Carolina, and I say this only because I keep coming back to the Kyler Murray example. They got Bryce Young, but he's still on a rookie deal, and it's so easy to walk away from a rookie contract. So if they ended up somehow with that number 1 overall pick, I don't think it's outside the realm of possibility that they either potentially, maybe trade back to acquire more draft capital, or if they take a serious look at drafting a Shador or a Cam Ward and think like, are we, Bryce Young is showing some flashes, but it's kind of like I heard, your boy say this, you're the guy who you love the most in terms of talking heads. Nick Wright say this, and I think he's absolutely right. If you watch anybody who's good enough to be in the NFL, not that they're great, but they're good enough to be in the NFL, over the course of a season, that person will show flashes. You know what I mean? But flashes doesn't mean they're good. You know what I mean? It could have just been situational. It could have been how they lined up the defense that week. Maybe the person just, they just was on that. They were just feeling themselves, or whatever. They listened to the right music when they was walking into the building. You don't know what it is. You know what I mean? They got some top before they left the house. Something.
Home cooking.
But right, every player who's good enough to make it to the league. I mean, we just saw Bronny go off in the G League the other day, putting up 30 something or whatever, 30. So everybody can show flashes or whatever, but is the person actually good enough? And I'm not sold on Bryce Young. And Carolina may say, hey, we got the number 1 overall pick. Yeah, we probably need a guy like Travis Hunter, but and also, and think about this too, Steve. Travis Hunter will be a first round pick because he's a Heisman Trophy winner, two-way player, all this kind of stuff like that. But if you think about Travis Hunter's college career, is he at best a 2 receiver? He's not a 1. You know what I'm saying? So it's not like do you? I mean, so he's gonna get taken in the top 5. But like if you take away the hype, take away the noise, and just look at his game, do you think that he's any better than a low-level 2 wide receiver 2?
No. And I don't think I agree with you. I don't think Travis Hunter is a number 1 pick, should be a number 1 pick, because at the NFL level, even if I picked him early, anywhere in the first round, I'm not chancing my first round pick playing both sides of the ball. So his value is cut in at least a third, right? If you're deciding he's going to be wide receiver, then you're cutting his value in third. If you're deciding he's going to play cornerback, then you're cutting his value in 2/3 down to a third, because I do think he's more I think he's a better receiver than he is a defender, although he does have some really good defensive plays. But I think he's a better receiver than he is defender, and I think he shows better sparks at that position. So yeah, to your point, I don't think he should be a number 1 until if the noise is not there, if the Heisman's not there, if it's and we might see that, and we might see people be like, oh my gosh, how did he fall in the draft? Because you might actually have some GMs who do this job, who are paid significant amounts of money, sit back and say, do I really want to risk my top 5 pick and capital that goes along with that on a guy that I don't know if he's ever going to be our number one?
Right.
I mean, if you're the Giants, maybe you go do that. I mean, you need the quarterback.
Because you got neighbors.
Right. But do you go Neighbors and Hunter, and then maybe you try to make a move somewhere to go get a quarterback later, or do you just go Shador? Like it gets tricky in those situations, man. It really
Yeah.
does. And I agree with you. I wouldn't be surprised if he dropped below a top 5 pick.
Yeah, I wouldn't either. I did hear a guy, an analyst, say he thinks that he don't think it'll happen, but he was like he thinks Travis Hunter can play two-way in the NFL, and he says the reason why is that, and he was like in his mind, he actually thinks in the NFL Travis Hunter is actually more of a wide receiver 3, not even a 2, and so he was like if he's plugged in as a wide receiver 3, he's not on the field as much because he's a wide receiver 3, which then allows him to have the energy to be able to play on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah. I mean, but playing someone on both sides of the ball regularly dramatically increases their chance or their risk of injury. You know what I'm saying? And I don't know that I want to do that with my first round pick. Like I don't know if I want to do that. And not only that, but now are you getting the full development in practice because you got this guy practicing and memorizing two sides of the playbook? You know what I mean? Versus just saying, hey, I need to develop you every week, every practice into being the best wide receiver or the best cornerback that you can be. Like, if I'm spending a first round pick, I'm not doing that. I don't want you playing both sides. If I get you in the third and you have the ability to do it, maybe yeah, or the second, possibly. But a first round pick, especially a top pick, no, I'm looking for a specific position and a specific need that we need to fill. And I don't look forward to having mediocrity on both sides of the ball. I'm looking to get greatness or very good production on one side of the ball.
Gotcha.
Personally, just my thoughts.
Yeah. No, that's good. I agree.
What else? Jay-Z's gonna beat the allegations. Shorty came out and said that she can't remember for sure who picked her up that night and things that happened. So, we'll see how that plays out. If you've been under a rock and you haven't been paying attention,
That story is.
Yeah, it's falling apart. I do feel like we're gonna see Jay-Z and Beyonce become the target of a lot of negativity moving forward for the next few years because Beyonce backed Kamala. Like the elephant in the room to me, that is part of it. Like when I look at, and I know maybe you're not thinking that, or maybe you are, I don't know. But what makes me think that way is when Diddy had these allegations, the first thing people were saying was, nah, I got to see the proof. Nah, I got to see the proof, right? When OJ, nah, I got to see the proof. Nah, I got to see the proof. Coming off of an election where Beyonce was part of, supporting Kamala Harris, Jay-Z pops up into this, and the first thing people are saying is, oh shit, they got him. I knew he was dirty. I knew he was about that. It's been going on for years. He's definitely going down. There was very minimum. I didn't see a lot of people that were like, nah, not Hove. Maybe the people that are close to him are really big fans or whatever. But I think it was the other way, and I unfortunately I think it has to do with that.
I mean, it could be. I thought it was more of the Diddy thing, given that like even when the stuff happened with Diddy, you had a lot of people who were like, let's wait and see what happens. Let's wait for the evidence. Then the tape came out from the hotel by the elevator or whatever, and the people were like, holy shit, And then you started hearing Jay-Z stuff, or not necessarily hearing Jay-Z stuff. You started hearing people say it's only a matter of time before something comes out about Jay-Z, as if, proximity to a person just automatically mean that you were doing what they were doing,
Right.
And so for me, I think it was more along the lines of that. But this story with this anonymous alleged accuser, it's insane to me, especially the fact of the part of the story where the girl says that she was driven to a party that was like 5 hours away, and then her dad came and picked her up and didn't say anything in the car. And I'm like, wait a minute, this dude had to drive 5 hours to pick up his 13-year-old daughter, and then 5 hours back to a 10-hour drive, and he doesn't ask any questions like, where were you, what the fuck was going on? Like, come on now. I mean, I get it that there's some bad parents out there, but like that's too far of a stretch for the imagination for me,
Dog, do you think in anywhere in the world somebody can walk up to a driver of an artist and the driver be like, "Oh, you don't have a ride? Here, hop in with us. We're going over here to this after party."
That's 5 hours away.
That's 5 hours away, and a 13-year-old, no less.
Right.
Come on.
Yeah, that's
Like,
that's
you got to do better with your stories. Like, people got to get creative they got to do better with creating these stories, yo. There's way too much.
Yeah.
Like, you got Chat GPT out there. You can go to Chat GPT and be like, "Yo, create me create me a story as if I were writing a book, of a mogul who took advantage of," you know what I mean? And then you
Right.
take that and doctor it up. You come up with this bullshit. "Oh, he drove me 5 hours and I got with my dad and I didn't even think to tell him at 30. Get the fuck out of here. You're fucking
Like
idiot.
that. And that's basically like, that's kind of what I was saying when we talked about this, 4 years ago, about that woman who made the allegations against Biden, saying that they were in a hallway in the Senate, and then he just pushed her up against the wall and started fingering her or whatever. And I'm like, in the Senate, like, there's people
Right.
there's cameras everywhere, there's people like, that doesn't make sense to me. You know what I'm saying? Like, if she said like they were in his office, nobody else was there, they were working late, I'm like, okay, well, you never, but like they're just in a random hallway, and
Mhm.
it's like, nah, I don't know if I believe that.
I was going to the lunchroom and he was coming from it, and there just happened to
Right.
be nobody to walk by for the next 30 minutes, and he just finger popped me. All right, bitch. You got it.
So yeah, that story is it seems to be falling apart very fast, and then it's not lost on me that the lawyer is the lawyer who represented the women against Deshaun Watson.
Right.
And I get it. Like, some of these people have, like, Gloria Allred used to be like the lawyer in this space that represented a lot of women who were had some kind of harassment or assault allegations, and things like that. She's a lot older now, so maybe she doesn't take on as much of that work as she used to, and he could just be the new guy who is kind of taking up that space. But you've had a lot of people who thought some, not maybe not all, but some of the Deshaun Watson allegations might have been bullshit. And then now you see this guy is representing this girl, and this story is just, falling apart like fucking Swiss cheese or something, and it kind of makes you wonder, because typically before your lawyer gets to this stage where they're, making demands for money, filing stuff in court, etc., they've at least vetted this shit on their own. You know what I'm saying? Where it's like, okay, the person told us a story. They gave us, some contemporaneous notes. Maybe here's an email they wrote. Here's some paperwork from the medical record where they went and talked to their doctor or their psychiatrist notes. Here's the text messages they sent to a friend saying this just happened to me. They can pull the records from T-Mobile. You know what I'm saying? They've at least done that kind of stuff to kind of, say this is why we believe these things are true, even though we don't have like any physical evidence, like a kit or anything like that. But in this case, it don't really even seem like that's been done. It seemed like there was an allegation made, and they were like, "Cool, let's get paid," and then that's as far as it went. It's almost like we say about Netflix. Hey, I got this script. Say less. Let's go to court. You know what I'm saying?
The worst part about it, of course, and we always say it, is going to be just the people that actually are going or have gone through or are going or unfortunately will go through this,
Mm-hmm.
in their life in the future, and will be looking for, support and, accountability. Like it's going to be even harder to seek it. At the on the flip side of the coin, though, this is also the reason why people like EJ and myself are always very, very, very standoffish when these types of stories come out, because it seems like the money grab is there, you know. And here's the worst part. Forget about the money grab. It's the people like you and me who don't have the money, or EJ, or just a random who someone decides, you know, I just want to, you know, ruin this person's life, that can have this type of story come up and it potentially grow legs. You know what I mean? So this whole situation is, you know, I don't know how we do better in America with stuff like this, but someone needs to start to really work on it, because everyone can get fucked in this process. It could be the victims that are fucked, and no pun intended. It could be, you know, random Americans or random men or women that can be fucked in false accusations. What if you don't have, you know, the name of Jay-Z? You don't have the money for the lawyers like Jay-Z, and somebody's just trying to put you in a piss poor position. Like, it's, I don't know, man. I don't know how that gets better, but
No, I agree with you. You know, I mean, it's why I say, you know, allegations should be taken seriously. They don't mean they should be taken as truth or be believed outright, you know, right away. Because you never know if it's a situation like you're describing where somebody just wants some get back or whatever. You know, oh, I was in line at you know, some place where he was signing albums, and he got in the car before he signed my thing, and now I'm pissed. You know, it could be something as simple as that, or it could be something where this thing actually happened. In this case, it seems like this is some bullshit. You know, but regardless,
y'all
the
remember that
allegations.
story I told y'all about Taylor Swift fondling me? You guys remember, right? Wink, wink.
You know,
Janet Jackson.
Nah, I want somebody with some money. Taylor Swift. Shit.
so
I
yeah,
went for who I might be able to get. You know, Janet might be more believable. You know,
No,
she had me and touched me a little bit too much.
no, I have the haircut that Travis Kelsey invented, the fade.
I thought Jay-Z's statement was very profound in saying, "Yo, you know, if I did this, take me to jail. You know, take
Yeah,
me to
put me up
jail."
on criminal charges, yo.
yeah, it's just yeah, this story is it's you know, I mean, it kind of just showed you. I'll never forget, man. I was, you know, when I was stationed in Iraq, I was reading a magazine that just happened to be in the building I was working out of, and they had an article in there that talked about the top 10 ways to get rich, and in the United States, and number one was lawsuits. And I'll never forget. And this is 2004, you know, and so I have to imagine that that's still the case today. And
God, I wish I could
so
find
you know, it you know, you can't discount that when these things happen. And I know that it's why you guys feel the way that you feel when we talk about these kinds of stories. And while I know it's possible, you know, I try to, at least in the beginning, keep my powder dry until we know more, you know, because you know, you just never know, you know what I'm saying? But it's like, to Steve's point, it's why people are highly skeptical when these things first happen, because they're like, this person's just trying to get paid, because we've seen it too many times. And for the small number of people who actually have the courage to, I don't want to say it that way because it makes it seem like the other people don't have courage. Some people just want to move on. But for the people who decide to go the route of reporting, it makes things that much tougher for them when you have cases like this.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I've always been fortunate. I always reference UVP that, you know, using that slogan, and it goes back to what you just said. You know, we should be victims or potential victims or alleged victims should be heard, and everyone will not be believed. But I think, to Steve's point, and I think we really have to drill down on that. Law enforcement, public, you have to figure this thing out. When the trend starts to shift and it starts to go ways, what are we going to do? I mean, we haven't seen on the female side yet, but it might come out that one day. And the administration and we've already got running the country. So what's going to happen to the real victims out there?
Yep. Man, there was something I was gonna say. That was probably pretty important, but EJ's shitty audio threw my brain scrambled off. Like my brain is as scrambled as his audio right now.
EJ sound like he's talking to us from Atlantis or something.
He sounds like he's stationed in Iraq. In a dune somewhere. Like, damn, I forgot. Whatever. It is what it is. Let's see. We try. We got the Heisman, NFL, Jay-Z. All right.
You haven't watching anything?
What did I watch recently? Oh, you know what I started watching? He's frozen. Look at his face. I watched House of Villains. I started watching House of Villains. I watched the first season, breezed through that a little bit. It's a reality show if you're not sure or not aware of it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Omarosa's on there. New York is on there from I Love New York.
I was about to say, is that I was just about to ask that show where I feel like y'all posted a clip of like New York going off on Omarosa or something like that.
Yeah, there's a bunch. Yep. It's a bunch of villain, like quote unquote reality TV villains from their time. They get in there and they do some, they're basically competing to win, to win money. I watched the first season. I'm on the second season now, and it's not bad. I mean, if you like reality TV, of course, I've been watching Challenge, my normal stuff. That's really it, man. Christmas movies. I pop into some Christmas movies, and I started watching. I watched Home Alone. Started watching Home Alone the other day, for the first time of the year. So that's kind of that's the mood that I'm in right now. That's what I've been watching. How about you?
For me, same, watching my normal stuff. We gotta get caught up on Survivor. We had a TV issue here last week. We got that taken care of. So we gotta watch Survivor on I mean, I don't know if she looked it up to see who won or whatever, but the season finale was last week and we missed it. So we'll see what happens when we get caught up on that. But I also been watching the Christmas movies. But in a turn though, we've been watching them on HBO. HBO got a lot of Black Christmas movies. And
I love those.
Yeah, and so we've been checking those out. I watched one last night called Christmas of Yes. I actually thought that one wasn't bad. You know what I mean? Like, they're usually cheesy and the plot. I mean, obviously you can see the plot coming a mile away, you know what I mean? But I actually thought it was decent or whatever for a Christmas movie, But we've been doing those. The other thing I watched, I was hoping EJ would have been on and been at least audible for this, is I'd watched The Penguin. I started it. I watched the whole thing in like 3 days. Like it was really, I liked it a lot. And I was so mad because I did not know that it was a miniseries. So
yeah.
And I was like, man, season 2 gonna be fire, yo. Like, and then I looked it up and it was like, yeah, there is no season 2. And I'm like, what the fuck?
No, I think they did get renewed for season 2. I think they added a season 2. I think. I had seen online. Now they did also. Did you know that you probably seen it online, but that's Colin Farrell, right?
No, I saw. I remember y'all talking about it on the pod, and when I watched it, I literally said to myself in episode 1, I thought Steve and EJ said Colin Farrell's in this, and so I was like, maybe he doesn't appear until episode 2. You know what I mean? And so then, and when I finished episode 2, you know how HBO does the thing where they talk about the episode at the end. And so then I see Colin Farrell come on and he's talking, and you know it says Colin Farrell and it shows Oscar / Penguin, and I was like, wait, I was like, what the fuck? Like, it's, you know, the makeup prosthetics team, whatever they're called, like, yo, shout out to them, yo.
And
I mean, the
him,
voice, oh my god, it's
Limp,
phenomenal,
like he did.
phenomenal.
They did really good there. There was
Yeah.
also a lot of good acting outside of him. I didn't
Yeah.
finish the finale, so I don't know what happened. But now that I'm reading, I looked online real quick. I don't see a season 2 yet, but they did say that he's already got scenes that they're casting him for in some of the future Batmans.
Gotcha. Yeah, that
So
was he also in the last Batman movie as Penguin? Because he was in there. I mean, the
what?
Penguin was in there. Is what I mean.
Oh, good question. You know, I didn't see that movie. You're talking about the one that was with
Robert Pattinson.
Jacob or whatever his, you know.
Yeah. Robert
Yeah.
Pattinson from Twilight. Yeah. I only seen it once, and I saw it when it first came out. So I could be mistaken, but I thought he was in it.
Colin Farrell was in it, and he was the Penguin.
Okay. Yeah. Yep. See, so I had no clue. So yeah.
Me either.
Shout out
so that
to
makes
them,
sense.
man. They did a phenomenal job on that makeup, and him with the acting. I like the whole cast. The woman who plays I can't remember her name from the movie. The one who's like the I don't want to say the villain because they're all villains.
The sister.
The sister.
Yeah.
When I saw her, I was like, oh man, she was in an episode of Black Mirror. I really liked her in that. So I loved her in the Penguin as well. I thought everybody did a really good job.
Kristen
The
Maloney.
one character I didn't really care for, and I'm glad he was just like a small like bit character, was the doctor from Sons of Anarchy. I don't know his name.
Theo Rossi. I know who you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, him.
Juice. He was Juice.
Juice. I didn't really care for his role in the show. I thought I could have done without it.
I really liked her, Kristen Milioti. And I really liked the kid Renzi Feliz, the one that played Victor.
Oh yeah, the one that played Victor. Yeah, I liked him a lot too.
He did a really, really good job, and of course, you know, yeah, and of course, Colin Farrell. I mean, like you can't. He did amazing. Like you didn't even. You couldn't tell it was him. You couldn't tell it was him. You know, it's funny.
The lady who played the mom too was pretty. She was good, and to have to play like regular and like with dementia. I thought she did good, like bouncing back and forth and stuff.
Yep. When I watch, so the thing is, when I found out it was Colin Farrell, because I found out before I finished it, or before I stopped watching, you know, because I still didn't watch the finale. After that, now I can see his mannerisms, and now I can, in certain things he says, I can hear Colin Farrell, because I like Colin Farrell a lot. Like I watched SWAT a ton of times, and you know when he was in the HBO show that Mahershala was in, and you know that, you know what I'm talking about?
No.
Mahershala had his season. Colin Farrell had his season, and then
True Detective.
True Detective, yeah.
I never watched that. I heard that was good too.
Yeah, he was good in that too. So as I was watching it, after I found out that was him, I was like, oh man, I could see Colin Farrell now, or not see him, but I could tell it's him. Mannerisms and some of the stuff he was saying, but he still killed it. Like he's still, I mean, monster, absolute monster. Yeah. So I don't know if they'll bring it back or find a way to move it into another series of some sort or another, you know what I mean? But he did a really good job, and I think that they should probably work on continuing, you know, Penguin stories into film, because I think a full film with him, 2.5 hours, you know, could be really good too. You know, I think people would sit through it.
But that's the thing, though, right? Like when like some stuff, that was kind of the argument that people were making. I said it on here, about like with Marvel stuff. There were some of these projects that they made movies of that would have been better for Disney Plus because you got more time to kind of flesh it out. So, like, did you watch all of Penguin except for the finale, or you're like behind on even some of the other episodes?
I think I'm 2 behind.
Okay, so I won't say what I'm getting ready to say, but because I think what I'm getting ready to say is revealed in the episode before the finale, I believe. So I won't say that. But anyway, there's things that are happening in the show when they do these flashbacks and things like that. You're hearing one side and then you get the other perspective later or whatever. And I thought that was brilliant. And in a movie, they can do that same kind of thing, but it's like, okay, you hear this thing in like the 20-minute mark of the movie, and then they do a quick flashback at the 2-hour mark, but both things kind of happen, in the space of like 3 minutes of movie time. You know what I'm saying? And it's kind of like, oh wow, whereas in a show,
series.
you kind of can lay this like this broad foundation, build up to it. You can spend so much time like on one thing to really like, get the audience drawn in, and then you hit them over the head, and it's got like with Westworld, right? I know you watched the first season, right? I believe. I know you didn't finish the whole thing.
I think I watched the first season.
But it's like when you watch Westworld and like, oh, okay, so they got the robots, they look like humans, blah blah blah, and then you get to the end, you're like, that dude's a robot, like because the whole time you thought this dude was a person. You know what I'm saying? And so in a movie, you can have that same kind of reveal, but I feel like a show, it draws you in more. So when the reveal happens, your mind is blown because you've spent 7-8 episodes believing one thing, and then the whole thing gets turned on his head.
Yeah, I'm with you. I really like most of what I've watched of the Penguin, or all of what I've watched of the Penguin. I just gotta finish it. And now that I know he's in the Batman, I'm gonna go watch the Batman too.
Yeah.
And see how that was.
I enjoyed that a lot, man. I watched that. No, the Penguin. The Penguin. I didn't really care about it too much. The Penguin, I enjoyed a lot, and I like the fact that Batman wasn't in it. Like you hear about him, like when they turn the radio on, you hear a news report, so you hear the Batman's in the background. But I'm glad you don't see him. So I thought that was good to just focus on the Penguin story.
Yeah, I feel like I do feel like the Penguin deserves a movie, just like the Joker got a movie. You know what I mean? Because that first Joker movie was fire. It's just this last one, they really screwed it up, man.
Yeah,
they really making it in a musical, and it's on Disney Plus now. So if you want to go sit through it, and like I said, cinematically, acting, it's great. It's just in the middle of a really good scene, or when you're about to get that build up, they break into song, and you're like, dog, what? How did we get here? Now I gotta wait. Now I gotta wait 7 minutes for y'all to finish this song, and then you're gonna show me what happened. I don't got time.
Right.
So, all right, man. Well, I think we're at a good spot now. I got playoff football to tend to. I know that you had a rough year, so yeah. It's this thing. You're familiar with it from if you just channel your inner history of fantasy football. You'll remember. But I got a couple lineups I gotta set. So with time, I got to do some research. So I think we're at a good spot. Almost 2.5 hours. So I'm gonna give you the reins to walk us out of here.
Hey everybody, we definitely appreciate you guys for rocking with us for this week's episode of the Cast Worthy Podcast. Sorry we missed last week, but we had birthdays and all kind of shenanigans going on. So we'll get with you guys. We'll try to be more regular. So we apologize about that, but we're glad that you were here this week. With that being said, we say it on all podcasts: make that phone call, send that text message. It's the holiday times, and you never know what's happening with anybody. We just had Thanksgiving. You got Christmas coming up. So reach out to your folks, see how they doing, check in on them, just say hi, I'm thinking about you, I love you, you know, whatever it is, just to let folks know that they're cared for. They'll appreciate it. You'll feel good too. So definitely check in on your people, man. You never know how far a message of, you know, just saying, hey, I love you will go. So go ahead and do that. You can find this podcast on all podcasting platforms by searching at Castworthy. You can also follow us on any social media by searching at Castworthy. On Instagram, it's at Castworthy_podcast. While you're there, you can leave us a like, subscribe, share, follow, tell a friend, help us grow the audience. We very much appreciate it. And you know, with that being said, man, we will see you guys next week with another fresh episode of the Castworthy Podcast. Until then, we out. We love you. Peace.